Okay, so this I think is the biggest mistake I made while backpacking Europe, and I think if you're from any European country, you might cringe a little bit. And I think if you're from the United States, then it might make a little bit more sense. So, anyways, I have my maps right here to provide a little bit of context. I did not pay for these because I was not going to spend money on a map, so I just printed these out. I think I need to start off by explaining that the United States, like, she is hefty, she is thick. And I don't think a lot of people kind of understand how big the United States is if you're not from the US. We have so much stuff. People do not travel outside the United States because she is huge, and we have like crazy different kinds of landscapes. We have oceans, mountains, beaches, deserts. We have so many different landscapes. And if you want a completely different landscape, you could just travel to a different state and see something completely different. So that's why I think a lot of Americans aren't super well traveled and why we are so bad at geography. Because our own landmass is so huge and we just don't travel around, I think, as people from other countries do. Just as like a little bit of a more context, I remember when I was in Europe, I was talking to this British man, and basically he asked where I was from, and I said, oh, I'm from Pennsylvania. And so what he said was, he's like, oh, that's a pretty big city, I've heard of it before. But I don't think people understand how big a state is, like, compared to a city. Like, Pennsylvania, the state that I lived in, she's right here, is about 90% of the size of England. Like, it's almost as big, and, like, I feel like that's, like, a pretty, like, standard size state. Like, I wouldn't say it's even, like, a large state, and we have states that are way larger than that. So, I think that's an important context going into what I'm about to say, which basically is that I think that really warped my perception of how big the route that I was taking in Europe was. I didn't want to pay to get the preview letters removed, so that's why those are there. But I know this might seem silly, but it just occurred to me that I actually drew a giant penis by laying out my entire route just now. So basically, went through all of these countries. These are all the countries that I went through, and this was my route in general. I did take some planes, so that did shave off a little bit of time, but that was my route, and it was huge. And I even remember when I would tell people my route, I remember I told this, like, Italian guy where I was going, like, my whole trip, and I remember him just being, like, shocked, because pretty much I only actually even interrailed, I think, for, like, 26-ish days, I think. I didn't even go like a full 30 days because I spent a while just like in Spain and Portugal when I first got there. I was in Europe for about a total of 40 days. So basically that's just a little bit of context. And I really regret doing this because it was so large that I really feel like I didn't get enough time to really enjoy a spot. I think I was traveling around so much, and the spots that I did end up staying longer in, I think I liked a little bit better just because of that. And I just feel like I traveled so much on those travel days that I could have been just in a country enjoying it more and enjoying the time that I had there more. So my biggest regret is that I wish I would have made my route smaller. And it's also another thing about that is it would have just been cheaper because then I wouldn't have been booking as many reservations ahead of time, and I would have been able to probably find a cheaper spot and then stay there for longer after finding a hostel that I liked and just staying there. And then also, if you choose a cheaper, like, not a cheaper route, but a shorter route, you'll probably know the trains better and be able to research it better than if you did what I did. And I remember when I was in Spain, they had this very specific train system. Sorry, my phone died. But basically, when I was in Spain, you needed a physical paper pass to actually get on the train that you wanted to go to. And usually when you're using the Interrail app, most people just kind of have it on their phone and they activate their ticket, scan a barcode. That's how they get on most of their trains. But specifically in Spain and in a lot of the bigger kind of train stations that they had there, I remember one of the places I was in Madrid, and that's where I had the biggest issue. Was basically, I just remember sitting there for hours because I did not know that you needed this pass pretty much super far in advance, and you would have probably, like, I would have probably needed to have it mailed to me in advance. Or you could also get it at the train station, but I would have needed to be at the train station pretty much a day before to get this ticket in time for when I actually wanted to leave on my train. So it was just a whole thing, and if I had known the train systems better, it probably would have been a lot easier for me, and I would have been traveling way less. And I remember, like, even people that have interrailed before, like, a lot of them didn't know that, and they were just, like, there was so many people that were interrailing just sitting there. And, like I said, I think the company was Renfe if you're specifically doing the route that I'm talking about. But it was just super crazy and super chaotic, and I think if I would have avoided that, it would have made my life a lot easier. And secondly, or thirdly-ish, I think that if I would have also stayed in a place for longer, I would have known the people better. And like I said, the places that I did stay longer, I liked more, because then you kind of get more of that, like, you're actually meeting people and getting to know them better instead of just staying somewhere for like 2 or 3 days and then leaving again. And I think that was probably my least favorite thing I had to do on my trip. And so I think if I would have made my route way smaller, it just would have made my life easier. I would have spent less money. I wouldn't have had to book as many reservations. But yeah, anyways, that is my biggest mistake, I will say, when I was traveling across Europe and using Interrail. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. So thank you guys so much. Bye. This small dog came up and peed on his bag.
Just like we talked about.
Totally came up and peed.